today. Minister.
Thank you very much, Lasca Hirlock. I too want to welcome the Minister into the House this morning, and also want to thank the Cathaoirleach for selecting this particular commencement matter. Minister, we're all very familiar with the magnificent Meals on Wheels services right throughout the country, and indeed I'm very familiar in my own area with the Meals for Wheels services in South Kildare. And the service operated by a list of great operators: Rathangan Daycare, St Conleths Daycare, Newbridge Day Care Centre, Rathangan Daycare Centre, Kilcullen Meals on Wheels and St Vincents Athy Meals on Wheels are critical to sustaining our older population in their homes. And it is important, as I stated, to thank everybody who are involved in these services, and many of whom actually volunteer time and collect money and necessary finance to support the services that are ongoing in South Kildare. The issue I wanted to raise with you today, Minister, is the need for further investment and resources for the service in South Kildare, and indeed as a knock-on effect the surrounding regions. I've recently been contacted by a large number of families who wish to avail of the service for their loved one. In many cases that are raised with me, the person is just out of hospital, or unfortunately the person has just suffered a bereavement, and they find themselves, Minister, in need of urgent and a good meal, daily meal or a meal during the week. Unfortunately, Minister, and the reason why I'm raising this today, there now seems to be a waiting list for the services in South Kildare. And I'm told by colleagues throughout the country, when I spoke about this with colleagues, is that there seems to be a waiting list in other areas as well. I'm sure, Minister, as you will well know, I don't have to outline the benefits of providing a daily meal to those that find themselves in such a situation. But I just want to give you two examples of cases that I have found, just to explain what is actually going on with these people and why they urgently need assistance and they need the services of the Meals on Wheels. One is a gentleman who has been in hospital for almost a year on and off, and he's just out of hospital. He needs care and he needs attention. But unfortunately, the vast majority of his family are out of country and living out of country, and the nearest relative he has is not in a position to visit him on a daily basis. And that's just one example. They're very concerned about his health and welfare. The second is a lady who's actually unfortunately suffered a bereavement in the last number of months, and her husband, who was unfortunately bereaved, was actually her carer, and unfortunately she's not in a position to look after herself, and again the relatives are out of the country, and unfortunately some of the more relatives are actually not living in the Kildare area. And both of these are cases that I have a number of people like that, Minister, over the last number of months. You know, that is the waiting list. They're being told as the contacted magnificent services that we have that there is a waiting list, and I would appreciate today, Minister, if government would consider, I know there has been some funding in the past, I just want to mention the Rathangan Daycare Centre, and obviously we have a new building coming up there, and they're in a position, if additional funding was provided to them, to provide more services in that particular area. And I just want to end by saying and putting on record my thanks to all those that operate the service. I believe it's a great service, but additional funding from government, additional resources for government would make a huge opportunity for those for those people that are suffering here at the moment and their loved ones. And most importantly, Minister, as we all want, it would keep them out of our nursing homes and keep them out of our A&Es and hospitals as well. So it's a great service. I want to thank government for their support, but I look forward to a positive reply.
I want to thank Senator Wall for raising this issue. It's great to have a commencement like this put down, because I can point out what we have done and what we're trying to do to support people that fall outside you know, the areas. It is a key priority for me and the government to allow more people to engage with services than allow them to remain independent and to live in their own homes and communities for as long as possible. Within the community setting, every day I talk about the triangular supports of home care, daycare and Meals on Wheels, including dementia-specific supports. They are a key factor in supporting older people to age well in their own homes. When I came into this post, Senator, in 2020, the budget for Meals on Wheels was 3 million. This year, 6.25 million. I have doubled it. But we've also done so much more. So working with Irish Rural Link, who are a phenomenal organisation, we now have Meals on Wheels network, which is really important. I would have launched an interactive map. You can go online. 307 organisations come under this umbrella now, and you see exactly where Meals on Wheels are available. Last year, 2.7 million meals were delivered the length and breadth of the country, and I, like you, want to thank the organisations, the day centres, the Meals on Wheels centres, the volunteers, those that work in CE schemes, that work in TUS schemes, all of these. It's just like an army on the move every day of the week. And it's so much more than a nutritious meal. And Senator, I can't tell you how passionate I am about it. It's so much more than a nutritious meal. It's the knock on the door. It's the social connection. It might be the only person they see that day. And these wraparound supports, they're absolutely vital to prevent loneliness and social isolation and to maintain positive overall health and well-being. In relation to the couple of cases you mentioned, and we all have those cases that fall outside the catchment area of where the meals are being delivered, and most of these organisations tell me they do have more capacity. Where the real challenge is having them delivered. So if two areas overlap and there's a little area in the middle that nobody is covering. So I recently met with the Meals on Wheels network. I spoke at their annual conference. I've spoken at it every year since it started to happen in 2022. And we are looking at expanding the service. We're looking at areas that we would see at the moment that there's no service there, and we are working at that at the moment. I want to talk specifically, I suppose, to your area. So the HSE have advised that the total funding for Meals on Wheels services in the Kildare area is just under 250,000. This funding is divided across 11 Meals on Wheels services in Kildare, 2 HSE delivered Meals on Wheels services and 9 Section 39 agencies funded through grant aid agreements. These Meals on Wheels services are currently being provided to 460 people in Kildare every day. The funding provided to South Kildare makes up approximately half of the funding allocated to the Kildare area for Meals on Wheels services, with South Kildare receiving 130,000 funding for these services. Meals on Wheels services in South Kildare are located in Athy, Kildare Town, Newbridge, Monasterevin and Rathangan. But what I would recommend, Senator, if I could, when you spoke about Monasterevin Daycare Centre, and they have more capacity. If I could suggest that they would write to their local HSE office in their CHO to propose a business plan saying that they could do maybe an extra 20 meals per day or an extra 25. Every single day centre this year, every single Meals on Wheels centre this year, whether they're working out of a day centre or not, should see an uplift in funding. There was an extra $1 million this year. There's about 320, 330 organisations. I know it's not a lot when you divide it in, but I've spoken to many that are seeing an uplift of approximately 20,000, and I hope it starts filtering down to them.
Minister, thank you very much for that very positive reply, and I note your passion in relation to this great service. It's something I share with you as well. In relation to Monasterevin, it's a new daycare centre that you will be familiar with, so there is capacity there, and I spoke to them yesterday in relation. They'd love to talk to us, so I will take up that and get them to write into the HSE services, and I'm sure that will form part of the new services in Monasterevin as well. The issue in relation to Athy, I suppose, is that they're probably at capacity, and most of those people that I spoke to are living in the general Athy area, and that's unfortunately that the capacity is there in St Vincent's Hospital at the moment, or lack of capacity for the wonderful service that to create. But I'm very enthused by your reply. I think it's very great that government have recognised this, and you as a minister have recognised the importance, as you said, the social context of this as well as the health context, and I thank you very much for your reply, and I look forward to expanding the services under your remit, Minister. But I think this is a very positive reply, and I thank you for it, and maybe I could write to you in relation to the couple of cases I had that you may take it up with the HSE, but I do appreciate your enthusiasm and your work on this area.
Thanks, Senator Waller. That's what I was going to say. If they do, or if they're able to put a business plan in place, if you could copy me into it as well, because we are trying to identify areas around the country where people just fall outside the remit. I've spoken to many families myself, and what they find is some of the organisations can provide the meals, but they actually can't provide the delivery in that particular area, especially for loved ones that families might have moved abroad or they might be living in other counties, so it is quite challenging. As I said, it was phenomenal last year, 2.7 million meals delivered. It's so much more than a nutritious meal. Today, as we stand here, 54,000 people, 55,000 maybe, will receive home care. But the home care, the daycare and the Meals on Wheels is what's keeping people out of nursing homes. And, that's where my focus is at all times. That's why the budget has been increased. But I do think it's important to say every single Meals on Wheels group should see additional funding this year. And if they don't, I'll follow up on it for you. Thank you for your interest in this subject.